Alright, everyone, Supreme Kami over here. So finally gonna be doing the alteration review for the 4 Armor Unicorn Speed attribute over here. So let's kind of get started with this guy up here. So in terms of like whether or not you want to alterate any of these part over here, since this one is gonna be a big scale, so there's pretty much not gonna be any right or wrong answer of like what to really alter and all that. But let's say if you guys are in a limited, out batch budget, for example, and you pull like 3 in one multi, for example, I would have to say alterate something that in terms of that slot specifically. Let's say your general build needs some improvement for your torso, for example. I will pretty much say try to alterate that torso, for example, to kind of balance up your build. So that's pretty much what I will kind of recommend. So in terms of this build overall, I can kind of classify this one into like kind of like a dual type build again, similar to 2 weeks ago when we have the Wing Gundam Zero, the Atlas version. But I am not doing that because in terms of like the requirement, you will need this the tech attribute version and then the power attribute version. So I'm not gonna be rating this one is like a good dual type build unit because you can access this and that. Because the thing is, when you get summoned for this new 4 Armor Unicorn over here, you're not getting the other two as well. So it's like one of those commercial where you buy like some sort of like a device, for example, but it says battery is not included. So this is pretty much going to be like the same situation. You're not included for those tech attribute and then P attribute, they're not included, so you can't really say, oh, quote unquote good dual type of unit. So pretty much gonna rate this one solely on a shooting base stat over here. So in terms of your shooting stat up here, so this is what we're looking at. I'm going to click on the head part real quick. So stat wise, I would definitely say the defensive side is definitely quite balanced. Look at that, like 8,000 or 8,700, excuse me. Yeah, they're definitely pretty good. In terms of armor wise over here, definitely a little bit on the low end tier. So that's kind of like you can say trade up right there. So tag wise over here is this tag combination is definitely leaning to like into like a shooting type build. So that's why I rated this one specifically for a shooting build specifically. In terms of the EX skill here, so this one, people pointed this one is actually not that bad because this one in fact actually does give you a health recovery by a 48%, which is kind of on an oddball that they're actually putting this like a health recovery on a actual awakening skill. So I mean, it's good in a way, but I would say it doesn't change the fact that it's still the same old boring NTD over here. So yeah, kind of whatever. So in terms of the alteration, the priority of this one, I will have to say this one is probably the least in terms of my overall, but just because of the fact that we have gotten so many better options out there already. Strike freedom over here. Second V is still pretty good, like this one over here. The Wing Gundam Zero is still pretty good. This came out like 2 weeks ago, so yeah, it's not too bad overall. Does have some of your alternative attribute, obviously. And then even look at like this one over here, Kasashia. What about Quibbly? Like these are still pretty good because they have hidden underneath their kits, they can actually get commander, given the fact that if you do have the alternative attributes. So I would say they're just a lot more better. And this one just have a plain old EX skill, so I'm just like, in terms of the alteration priority, this one is definitely not on top for sure. So yeah. Alright, moving over to the torso over here. So let's see what the torso have in store for us over here. So looking at those defensive stat line right there, they are so crazy. Like breaking 10,000 per bow is kind of good. And then in terms of like you're looking at the melee and shot attack over there, they're pretty much neck and neck once again. So overall pretty good. So work tech wise over here, this one does have high firepower and then Federation, which is actually does work pretty good into a dual type build specifically. So that's why it's kind of hard to read this one, honestly, just given what kind of work tag we're dealing with over here. So why did I put Gundam type? Let me change this to Federation. I have no idea. So let me actually change this up real quick as I'm talking right now. So alright, Federation over here. So in terms of this one over here, this one is actually an all type boosting over here. So this one is actually pretty good. So in terms of the priority for this one, I would have to say this one is definitely on the higher end tier. So this one's gonna have one of the like quote unquote newer portrait kind of like definition over here. Enemy all cut minus 40% over here. So this one just kind of treat this as like a normal power boosting in a way, and this one specifically is an all power. So your normal shooting, melee or shot, your EX skill, melee or shot, they're definitely getting that boosting as well. So this one is actually quite good. The only condition that they want you to use is actually high firepower, which is kind of embedded into this overall kit. So yeah, this one is pretty amazing. If you guys are able to get the torso, definitely a pretty good recommendation for sure. And then if you guys strictly want this into like let's say strictly for your shooting build specifically, you can kind of get ace exclusive as well, because if I recall, if my memory does not fail me, I believe the tech attribute or the power attribute also does have ace exclusive, or let's say pro tag, so you can do either or. So yeah, you guys are in pretty good hands if you guys are able to get the torso and give it the fact that you have the other two attributes. So not bad overall. This one is definitely onto like the higher priority for sure. All right, moving over to the arm over here. So the arm is yeah, the arm. Speaking of the arm, man, this arm is packing a lot of stats. Like, look at that, 20,000 per. Yeah, kind of keep that in mind. This is gonna be on a arm plus an integrated shield, so something I usually does not recommend into putting on the main slot. This is definitely something I'll put onto the sub slot, because you're not getting that like the shield, you're not getting that portrait, so I do not recommend that aspect of it. So EX skill wise over here, we are looking at the full armed attack once again. So they're pretty much not doing anything else besides bumping up the power to an SS minus, which I mean, like, it's cool that they're doing that, but I'm not the most intrigued by just having like a raw power boosting with there, like a power modifier going up. I'd rather have them do a little bit more additional effects that they have been doing for some of the alternative attribute. That would have been better, but this one is just like I will have to say, in terms of the alteration priority list over here, I would definitely put this one more on the lower end tier over here once again. You guys can see that this is like gigantic stat up here, but one thing to note, if you guys are subsliding, for example, an arm plus integrated shield, the stat is going to be cut by half already. So what are we looking at? Let's say if you cut this by half, you're still looking at maybe how would I even cut this in half? Like for your defensive stat, they're definitely still going to be 10k if you just directly cut again by half. And then in terms of like your actual melee attack, this one you can roughly say somewhere between 8,000-ish area, and then for shot, like actual shot attack, maybe 5,000, which is obviously it's not gonna be that great once you subslot it. So so that's why not really that top priority. If you guys do have the the other attributes, armors already for this EX skill specifically, you guys should pretty much have them maybe alterated already. And kind of keep that in mind, if you alterate this one, this is going to turn into a big scale, like the 1 to 100. So in terms of, let's say, keep bashing with your other 1 to 1/4 of the scale parts, it is definitely going to look a little bit wonky, and then actually using it definitely going to look weird for sure. So that's why, in terms of like aesthetic wise, the overall gimmicks of arm plus integrated shield, that's why I put this one on like a lower tier for alteration. So all right, moving on to the leg up here. Something I didn't get. These two were the only two parts I didn't get on my initial summoning, which is like sad. I was almost done. Give me those two more parts, and we could have been walk away home with like probably the least amount hard to spend and got the full set. But nope, game decided not to listen to me. So it is what it is, honestly. So all right, moving over to the leg up here. So this is going to be the overall stat wise over here. So not looking too bad, honestly. Definitely going to be among one of the higher stat tier over here, and these are just some of the other ones over here. So you guys can definitely pause and kind of take a look. So in terms of leg wise over here, stat wise, it's definitely going to be very balanced. Again, 5k for both offensive, and then almost at 10k for your defensive value. So that's actually pretty good. In terms of the war tag over here, this one is kind of like, and this one is definitely going to be one of those hit or miss kind of portrait, not going to be for everyone. Specifically that first portrait, that one is going to be an all enemy cooldown up by what, 25%. So let's say if you're running it, like this one specifically is only going to be used for anyone that is within like trying to get into like you know, the top leaderboard for arena, like 3-3 arena, because most of the time if you're playing any PvE, for example, chances of actually running into these are very slim. But I'm not gonna say we won't ever face against, you know, specifically the tech or the speed attribute. You know, so in terms of like the usability, just, you know, how relevant you actually use it, you know, on like regular PvE content is actually just going to be very limited. So I mean, like, I don't see why this one is like, oh, you know, top priority for alteration. So I'm gonna put this one at medium, or just in in the middle. I will have to say this one is just not that important in a way. So looking at it, base level 1, you're looking at 15% already, so that's pretty good already. So anyone running like a 100% cooldown reduction type build, they will actually need they will need 115% or up to a 125%. So that is kind of absurd, because like I'm pretty sure a lot of players does actually play in, let's say, cooldown reduction type build for their, you know, arena build or like 3v3. So that can be troublesome for sure. So yeah, that's all around pretty bad. So secondary portrait, when you have the Gallon category equipped, EXQ boosted or EXQ reduced by 10% and then up to 23%. So this is gonna be works really good for a cooldown reduction type build as well. So that's why this is gonna be more or less like a situational thing. I'm not gonna say I'm recommending it or not recommending it. In terms of like the priority wise over here, this is definitely something you guys should decide if you need something of this nature over here. So that is that. Stat wise is definitely good. So if you guys are purely looking at the stat wise, I think they would definitely serve you quite well. And then definitely do try to subsidize something that can be a little bit useful in terms of, you know, having, instead of having these two specific you know, portrait over here. So all right, moving on to the backpack over here. So let's see what we have. Stat line is pretty much going to be the same thing again. 5k for your offensive, and then 9,700. Oh wow, hold up, they are actually the same, so that's actually quite good. This one, there's pretty much not going to be anything too gimmicky over here. Just going to be a basic rocket, a bazooka slash a missile launcher over here. So this is pretty plain, pretty, you know, bland, and just not unique at all. So in terms of altering it, this one is simply going to be like, do you need like a new backpack with this amount set over here? If you guys do need it, definitely go for this one for alteration. If not, this one, I would have to say priority wise is definitely going to be on the low end tier again, just because this one is not really packing anything else, you know, besides the fact this one's a big scale, packing some pretty balanced type, you know, set over here. But other than that, just pretty simple, not really worth mentioning in some ways. So definitely going to be on that low end tier for me again. So high firepower and that Federation once again for those common 3 vortex right there. So all right, moving over to some of your melee weaponries over here. So let's see what we're dealing with over here. So this one, being a lance category, is actually quite good, actually, just because of the fact that in terms of, you know, representation for lance category, it's just very limited. The only other one that we actually have gotten like that's quite good is the Talkies F. That's gonna be pretty much it. Other than that, all the other ones are just kind of like, not too good. So this one being a lance is actually quite good. So stat wise over here, that is going to be a swallow right there. So defensive is continuing to shine once again. So I am definitely very surprised by that. What about the portrait over here? So before 60 seconds pass over here, so enemy all power reduced by 30%. Okay, so it's gonna be playing one of those games over here. So that's actually quite good. 60 seconds is actually cutting a little too short. If you're purely going to be using this one in, let's say, a all defensive build, so let's say you're tanking people's attack or whatsoever, only limited to the first 60 seconds is definitely going to hurt. Let's say if your enemy or you're doing like a friend battle, for example, your opponent kind of like outlives you, for example, by more than that 1 second or that 1 minute, for example, 60 seconds. This portrait is completely rendered to nothingness. So it's good that is like all power reduced, but at the same time, this one being a time gated is actually not that great. But the secondary portrait is actually quite good. That is going to be a spot EXQ boosting, so I would definitely take that. So if you guys are planning to use something of a supporting type role, definitely do look out for this hyper beam javelin over here. This actually provides some pretty good support for sure. So definitely not bad right there, pretty good. So this one, if you guys are able to get this part specifically or only got this one, and you have the necessary resources to alterate this one. I think this one is definitely not a bad choice as well, so not bad overall. So alright, moving over to some of the ranged weapons over here. So in terms of the ranged weapon over here, this one being a Gatling category plus a big skill is definitely a very good idea over here. I would even argue that if you guys don't like, if there's any Gatling weaponry that you want to subswap, for example, definitely do go for these two options over here, just because of the fact that they are big scale, so they'll definitely carry out a lot of good stats over here. But to my recollection, I don't even think there's that many good Gatling type range weapon over here, so maybe this is pretty much like redundant if you want to alterate it and all that good stuff over here. But without any further ado, let's kind of take a look at the stat first. So in terms of overall stat, it's actually quite good once again. So in terms of your shot department, it's not going to be like one of your top choices out there, obviously. But what about the portrait? Let's kind of take a look at the portrait. Oh wow, so you're doing a double cut right here. So a double shooting cut. So I don't know how I feel about that, because they're pretty much just gonna be like a generic shooting power boost by 30%, then 35% over here, so pretty much the same thing in a way. But the first condition does kind of bugs me a little bit, locking you to only middle shooting job over there, so kind of fortunate, I would have to say. But in terms of overall portrait, pretty simple in a new kind of format right there, so not bad, I guess. What about the couplet one over here? So this one's gonna be the dual Gatling over here. So stat was basically gonna be the same. So, oh wow, they're packing another enemy cooldown up by 25%. So if you have these two parts, what is it, the leg port and this couplet Gatling over here, you are literally subtracting your opponent. Like they're literally gonna need 150% to get any EX skill like rotating immediately. So that is crazy. Yeah, this right here is kind of dangerous. So I guess it's not bad overall. Oh wow, you're also gonna get a squad EX skill boosting as well. That's pretty neat. But condition wise, does want you to use does want you to attack with beam only. So that is kind of strange to have that as the actual condition. So how, like, I don't know, like how would they even know if you have any beam EX skill or normal shooting, for example? I mean, they can definitely kind of tell within like the coding itself, like you actually attach on this specific part and this specific EX skill and all that. But that's definitely quite strange for there. So in terms of both the Gatling, I will have to say, in terms of the the alteration priority wise over here, definitely gonna give a little bit more favoritism to the double Gatling over there, just because it does offer like a squad EX skill boosting. Is it EX skill boosting or shooting boosting? I think it's EX skill, right? Yeah, that's actually quite good. So that's why I might actually place this one higher than the regular one. So but you guys can definitely let me know which one of the parts you guys have actually gotten, and then which one of the parts that you guys are planning to alterate. But I'm pretty sure a lot of people may or may not have even summoned it on this banner over here, just because this one is going to be like same suit once again. So but you guys can definitely let me know. But with that being said, that is going to be pretty much it, and then I'll catch you guys all on the next one.